To the world, Bruce Lee was a movie star, but to the martial arts community, he was the man who revolutionized the fighting arts. Bruce Lee, in his lifetime, authorized only 3 people to teach on his behalf: Taki Kimura, James Lee, and Dan Inosanto.
At the time of Bruce Lee was alive, there was only 3 of us that were sanctioned by Bruce Lee to teach it. That was Taki Kimura, and James Lee, of course, passed away, and he was of Oakland, and myself.
Taki Kimura taught at Bruce Lee's Seattle school. Bruce ranked him as his most senior instructor in Junfan Kung Fu. Today, Taki continues to teach in Seattle. He is also the keeper of Bruce Lee's final resting place at Lakeview Cemetery.
Right now we're up on Capitol Hill, Lakeview Cemetery, which is probably the first or second oldest cemetery in the city. And Bruce was, when he died, and Linda brought him back here to have him buried here in Seattle for the reason that this was his second love as far as where he wanted to live. And she looked down the hill down there beyond that little columbarium or whatever you call it, and that's where most of the Chinese are buried. And so she looked there first, but she was looking elsewhere, and she came up here and she found that this gave a very panoramic view of the University of Washington over there where we went to school, Lake Washington over that overlooked up here, and so she felt this was a real ideal place for him to be. So this is where she had him buried. And of course, Brandon, having died, why he was buried next to his father here.
Dan Inosanto is the only man to be certified by Bruce Lee as an instructor in Jeet Kune Do. He has faithfully continued to develop and pass on Jeet Kune Do since Bruce's death in 1973.
They can be found in Western boxing.
In the early days, Dan was the instructor of Bruce Lee's Los Angeles Jeet Kune Do school.
This is the original logbook of the attendance of the Chinatown School, which started in 1967. And at this time, he appointed me as the head instructor, and he would oversee this by coming in and watching me teach from time to time. If he wasn't filming, he would come in on Saturday and Sunday and sometimes teach the class or sometimes observe the class. But the majority of times he came in, he would just take over the class and teach, and I would just assist.
Many of these early students have since been authorized by Dan to teach.
You could see that different people like Bob Bremer that train, and we have people like Larry Hartzell that train at that time period. And it's the same thing over here. We have Bob Bremer and Ted Wong. These are different people who train. Richard Bastillo. This is again. Alfred Haber, who probably had the best attendance in Chinatown at that time. Daniel Lee. Teague. It shows the different people that trained during that time period.
Dan continues to teach in Los Angeles. His academy is a meeting and training place for martial artists from all over the world. The academy is not just a teaching location. It houses many of the original banners and training equipment items from Bruce Lee's martial arts schools.
This is Sifu Bruce's original heavy bag that he used back in the 60s. It's still holding up pretty good, so it's quite big. I think it's pretty close to 200 some pounds.
You want to check it when it's coming?
During this time period, we used to train because we didn't have any tie pads, so Sifu Bruce advocated the use of using the football forearm guard. This here is the original punching shield, that his own personal punching shield, in fact. This was used as in the Way of the Dragon. If you notice this, he had one part. I had one arm, he had the other arm, and this was used in that picture, Way of the Dragon. This was the sign or the plaque that we had here. This is the truth in combat is different for each individual in the style. Research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useful, and add specifically what is your own. This here used to hang in the Chinatown School along with other emblems. This, of course, is the picture of Sifu Bruce. To people here, he's referred to as the Sigung. And this thing I heard from Sifu Bruce, this is actually was in the Oakland branch, Bruce Lee's Tao Chinese Kung Fu, using no way as way. That literally means that he doesn't use any particular way, whether it's Chinese way or a Japanese way or an Okinawan way or a Korean way. He uses no way as his way. And having no limitation up there means It means that he doesn't limit himself to one particular style or one particular discipline or one particular system or one particular way of using no limit as his limitation. This up here is the sign that hung in the first time he opened publicly, 1974. Man, the living creature, the creating individual, is always more important than any established style or system. This is a quote he gave back in 1968. This here is another quote. He says, "My followers in Jeet Kune do listen to this. All fixed set patterns are incapable of adaptability or pliability. Truth is outside of all fixed patterns." He's talking about drills, he's talking about styles, he's talking about systems. And the last plaque is the original plaque that he made for the Chinatown School in 1967 when we opened up, and this is the original plaque that's up there. As far as my memory will serve me, it started off as a style, and for about maybe a month or a month and a half. And then he realized a style was too confining, it was too short. Then he realized that the combat is usually geared under certain principles that you would follow and certain concepts you would go. So he said, JKD is more of a concept, and it should be constantly researched. It's kind of like, I refer to it as research and development, and that you would research different fighting arts, which he did extensively. That's why I find it very humorous now that people want to go back to the original. Now, the original JKD is what they refer to as Jun Fan Kung Fu. That has certain stances, certain type of footwork, certain type of kicks, which was the basis for what he called at that time Jeet Kune Do. But Jeet Kune Do, as he said, I have not invented a new style or a method of training, whether it be Chinese, Japanese, Okinawan, Korean, or whatever. He says, these are just a way so I can learn about life and about combat in general, because life is combat, as he used to say. I introduced the air shield to him and the foam shield, because he was always looking for different training methods. He wanted to kick it in different surfaces. I said, well, we know we use this in football, we block it, we sometimes hit it, tackle it. You know, I said, let's try punching and kicking it. And he said, nah, it won't. At first he said he didn't think it was going to be very good, but when I came back the next day, he had all these drills that you could do on the air shield and on the foam shield. And the reason why, he says, sometimes when a person kicks, you really can't tell if there's substance in it. And at that time period, everyone kicked that lockout side kick, or they did that round kick and the gi pop when they did the side kick and the round kick. And people mistook that for power. And he wanted to show that sometimes when you kick, he says, you got to see the results. And when you kick the air shield, when you kick the foam shield, there is, right away, it reevaluates your power, your direction of the kick. And so that's why he liked it so much. This is where the path that he led me on, because when we were training, we always research and experience with different things we came in contact with from different types of way Western boxing trainers would teach. He researched Silat, which very few people at that time period even were into. He researched Thai boxing. He researched Savat. He researched different grappling methods, known and unknown methods. He bought every book he can find in martial art, and he put I won't say the style, but he took the basic essence of what he called martial arts from that particular system and incorporated it into his own personal fighting system, which he called Jeet Kune Do. So I'm just doing exactly what I feel that he would have wanted me to do if he was still alive. And that's a direction. And most of those people weren't into the research part. And I think I stated in my first book, he says, if you don't understand and join me in the research, you will not understand what Jeet Kune Do is all about. Jeet Kune Do is sometimes leaving the security of what you know best and learning from a person. And this is what he stressed. He says, you have to understand. You have to go in the areas where you don't feel comfortable in. And that's hard. Because if you feel comfortable at the punching range and your opponent wants to play in the kicking range, it might throw you off, or vice versa. If you feel comfortable at the kicking, punching, and this person wants to grapple, and he happens to get you on the ground, then you're playing his game. I'm trying to bring out a point here that is a different type of element, so you should be prepared to go in that. And that's what he stressed in all his philosophy. So I think, and I like to feel, and I think I know, that I think I'm going in the right direction that he wanted, because I'm still holding fast to his principles and concepts.